like a major migraine.
I'm gonna take as soon as I finish.
And then stand up and applaud loudly.
You need pom-poms, Naomi, so you can cheer us.
Ready when you are. There you go.
Every day, your City of Tempe staff goes above and beyond to make sure our community gets the best possible services and the most for our tax dollars. But how good is good? How do you measure it? And how do we know what we really need to make progress on some of our most pressing issues? To guide us, we developed a series of goals designed to help us improve our community based on our Tempe City Council's 5 strategic priorities. Reaching for excellence, we are comparing ourselves against the rest of the nation as well as ourselves. Some of our goals will help save lives. Some of them will help us save money. All of them will help us make Tempe a better place. Tempe Accelerates is an opportunity for you to get involved. Hear what city staff and community partners are doing to reach our goals. Your role? You are a vital part of our community. Share your ideas and help us craft better solutions. Ask questions. Be part of the conversation either in person or online. Check tempe.gov/Tempe Accelerates for dates and times of our next programs and collaborate with us at Tempe City Hall. Today, we will hyper-focus on 2 performance measures. Each presenting team will have 10 minutes to share data, strategies, and progress on a performance measure. Then, you will have about 10 minutes to ask questions or offer suggestions and ideas. On the back of your agenda, we have resource questions to help you participate in the conversation. Also included with your agenda is a quick survey with space you can use to include any ideas or suggestions you might have about today's topics. Thank you for participating. Now, let's accelerate.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tempe Accelerates for October 4th, 2018. Contrary to what the pre-recorded video said, today we're actually going to be handling 3 performance measures, all of which I think are going to be from the same presenters. They are all related. Measure 3.06, kindergarten readiness, 3.07, third grade reading rate, and 3.08, high school graduation rate. So what I was thinking was, rather than our typical format, let's go ahead and have the presentation team present on all 3. Yes, or are you be changing out? Is it the same presenters?
So we'll be presenting on each measure, then stopping for questions, and then moving to the next one.
We can do it that way. Okay. That's what you're going to do. Far be it for me to say otherwise. In that case, what Marie said. Very good. So take it away.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Marie Raymond. I'm a Human Services Manager overseeing Family and Community Support section of our Human Services Department. And so our first measure we'll be presenting on is quality early learning. All of the measures that we're presenting on today fit in with Council priority quality of life. And again, quality of life is enhancing the quality of life for all Tempe residents and workers through investment in neighborhoods, parks, the arts, human services, and city amenities, with an emphasis on equity and diversity. So quality early learning is performance measure 3.06, and this measure has 2 parts. The first part is to achieve quality early learning for Tempe 3 and 4-year-olds as measured by the percent of 3 and 4-year-olds in quality early learning settings greater than or equal to 45% by the year 2030. And the second part is currently under development, and it will be to achieve a percentage of kindergartners who meet or exceed developmental expectations as assessed by the Kindergarten Developmental Inventory by the year 2030. And the goal of the year 2030 is in alignment with the statewide Expect More Arizona Progress Meter. And so I'll now turn it over to Ariana Lopez, who is our Tempe Pre-Supervisor, who will first define our measure.
Good afternoon. So programs are evaluated on several measures that look at things like the classroom environment, health and safety, teacher and child interactions, and the curriculum. Quality First uses the evaluations to determine a program's quality on a 5-star rating scale. The Arizona Department of Education defines school readiness as children being ready for kindergarten in the areas of language and literacy development, cognition and general knowledge, approaches to learning, physical development, and self-regulation. So why does this measure matter? John B. King, President and CEO of the Education Trust, has said, "Achievement gaps are without question a result of opportunity gaps." This graphic from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation demonstrates why ensuring that all children, especially those at risk, are able to access high-quality preschool programs. It also demonstrates why quality and not just access in an early childhood program is so important. In 2016, the First Things First Regional Needs and Assets Report determined that in Tempe, only 35% of 3- and 4-year-old children were enrolled in a preschool program. Looking at this slide, you can see where Tempe compares to other cities, Maricopa County, and the state. After reviewing this report, Tempe then started to consider what strategies could positively impact this rate. One of those interventions was the implementation of the Tempe Pre-Pilot Program. As you are aware, Mayor and Council approved funding for 20 classrooms in the 2017-2018 school year. One of the considerations of Tempe Pre was not just increasing access, but increasing access to quality early childhood programs. So where are we? Before Tempe Pre, 31% of Tempe's 3- and 4-year-old children were participating in a quality early childhood program. After the opening of our 20 Tempe Pre classrooms, we now have 38% of 3- and 4-year-old children in Tempe participating in a quality early childhood setting. This shows that Tempe is already making strides toward reaching our goal of 45% of Tempe's 3- and 4-year-old children attending a quality early childhood program by the year 2030. But there is still more work to be done. In the early stages of Tempe's efforts to increase access and quality opportunities for preschool children, the only consistent measurement available at the time in both the Tempe Elementary and Kyrene school districts of kindergarten readiness was the DIBELS, which measures early literacy skills. This assessment, which is administered to all kindergarten children, showed that only 36% of the kindergartners in the Tempe Elementary School District entered day one ready. In place of having kindergarten developmental inventory data, which is currently being gathered by kindergarten teachers, Tempe Pre used end-of-year data for our 4-year-old children from the 2017-2018 school year. This data showed that 74% of our Tempe Pre 4-year-olds left the Tempe Pre program ready for kindergarten. We determined this by identifying the number of children who were meeting and exceeding developmental expectations for their age. We have 3 major strategies we are working with to address our performance measure: expand access, improve quality, and increase kindergarten readiness. To expand access, we have launched the 2-year pilot of Tempe Pre, a free preschool program for income-qualified 3- and 4-year-old children living in Tempe. To improve quality, all of our Tempe Pre classrooms participate in Quality First. This is a statewide initiative funded by First Things First that provides coaching and assessment to early childhood providers. To increase kindergarten readiness, we are implementing Triple P, the Positive Parenting Program. This program provides free parenting classes to help parents increase their knowledge, skills, and confidence through simple and practical strategies. Throughout these 3 strategies, we also partner with various city and community supports. One of our unique partnerships is with the city's own Kids Zone program, which provides before and after care at several of our Tempe pre-sites. Some of the challenges we still face are that there are limited resources to support early childhood in the state of Arizona, and there is still a lack of awareness of the importance of quality early childhood programs. However, one of our biggest challenges is poverty and the long-term effects it can have on children. 40% of Tempe children ages 0 to 5 live at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. 75% of children in the Tempe Elementary School District qualify for free and reduced lunch. 41% of children in the Kyrene School District in Tempe qualify for free and reduced lunch. Poverty is a challenge to families accessing quality care. If not enrolled in publicly funded programs, which are often free or reduced cost, the annual cost of full-time center-based care for a young child in Arizona is nearly equal to the cost of a year at a public college at $9,166. This led us to strategically selecting school sites in high-poverty areas of Tempe to house our Tempe pre-classrooms. This map shows the distribution of our Tempe pre-families, indicated by the purple dots, the locations of our schools that house our Tempe pre-classrooms, and the higher concentrations of poverty as indicated by the shaded areas. The darker the shaded area, the higher the concentration of children under the age of 5 living at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. Thank you.
So we are currently accelerating this measure by establishing a Tempe Early Childhood Network consisting of several local partners. This network is focused on enhancing professional development opportunities for early childhood teachers, increasing family engagement, looking at sustainability, and reviewing policies and procedures. We recently held an early childhood conference bringing in experts to share information with parents, teachers, and community members. And so at this time, we'd be happy to answer any questions about this performance measure and hear your ideas for acceleration.
Any questions? Okay.
Thanks. I don't have a question as much as a comment, and that is that I'm always so happy that we pick goals that aren't necessarily completely within our control, with the understanding that we might have to partner with others to achieve the goal. And I think that's great. It would be easy to just set a goal that says we're going to teach this many kids these things in every given year, knowing that the ultimate result might not be what we're looking for. So I just appreciate the fact that you have taken on a goal that requires the continuing cooperation of all of the educators in the city, and I just want to thank you for that. Thanks.
Okay. If not, we will move on to the next one.
So our next performance measure is third grade reading. So this is performance measure 3.07, and it states that we'll achieve a percentage of Tempe students who score proficient or highly proficient on the AZ Merit third grade English Language Arts Assessment greater than or equal to the statewide achievement goal of 72% by the year 2030. And again, the goal of 72% by the year 2030 was established by the Expect More Arizona Progress Meter. And so at this time, I'll turn it over to Ann-Lynn DiDomenico, our Social Services Supervisor, who will explain why this measure is so important.
Thank you, Marie. So why does this measure matter? Reading proficiently by the end of third grade can be a make or break benchmark in a child's educational development. Children need to spend their early years learning the building blocks of literacy and then putting these skills together to learn to read. These building blocks start at birth. They include activities such as a parent reading to their child and a child holding a book and turning the pages. Children begin to learn that print has meaning. They become curious about language and excited about books. While they are young, children should be exposed to many and varied words, and they benefit from literacy-rich environments. Starting in kindergarten, children use these building blocks when formal reading instruction begins. When children have been provided a solid literacy foundation by parents, caregivers, and quality preschool, it is easier for them to learn to read. By fourth grade, children transition from learning to read to reading to learn. Children need to be proficient readers to gain the information they need in math and science and to problem solve and think critically about the content of what they are reading. Up to half of the printed fourth grade curriculum is incomprehensible to students who read below grade level. Children must be reading proficiently by the end of third grade to be successful in school. Low achievement in reading has important long-term consequences. Students who are reading proficiently at the end of third grade are 4 times more likely to graduate from high school and 3 times more likely to enroll in college. Academic success is defined by high school graduation. The world economy is demanding a more educated workforce, and third grade reading proficiency is a key. So where is the city of Tempe on this measure? As we stated earlier when we saw the performance measure, the goal is that 72% of third graders will score in the proficient or highly proficient range on the English Language Arts portion of the AZ Merit Exam by 2030. The current passing rate of third graders in Tempe elementary schools and Kyrene elementary schools located within Tempe is 42%. It is important to note that this number does not include charter schools or private schools. The levels of proficient and highly proficient are combined to determine the passing rate. The current passing rate for third graders in the state of Arizona is 44%. This slide shows the passing rate for Tempe in relation to the 2030 goal of 72%. This slide provides a breakdown of scores for the Tempe schools on the 2016-2017 third grade English Language Arts portion of the AZ Merit Exam. Schools have been grouped by zip code. The first column is the total percent of students who passed this section of the exam. The next 2 columns break the passing percentage down into those students who scored in the proficient range and those students who scored in the highly proficient range. The yellow highlights indicate the 7 schools whose overall passing rate either met or exceeded the state average of 44%. The green highlight indicates the 1 school who is currently exceeding the 2030 target goal of 72%. There are 3 schools who are currently scoring above 60% and are approaching the 72% target goal. The City of Tempe has a variety of strategies currently in place to support the third grade reading performance measure. These include a variety of programs, events, and services working towards meeting the goal of 72% by 2030. This slide is a visual representation of many of these current strategies. These include popular programs such as story times, Little Free Libraries, and Reading Sprouts. These efforts are a collaboration between the Human Services and the Community Services departments and provide families with a wide array of options. These strategies are ranged from raising an awareness of early literacy and the importance of reading to changing behaviors which result in more proficient reading by third grade. In order to be classified as a program which changes behavior, programs must have sufficient intensity and length of service, in-depth and ongoing training of providers, target a specific population in order to impact change, and have a system of ongoing data collection in place and closely monitored to determine the outcomes of the program. It is important to have programs across all phases of this continuum, as raising awareness is vital to informing families of the importance of early literacy and reading. Some of these programs could be modified in ways that would enable them to produce measurable positive outcomes and change behaviors. Currently, there are 2 programs which are showing positive measured outcomes related to students becoming proficient readers by the end of grade 3. These are the Tempe Pre-Program, which you just heard about, and the AARP Foundation Experience Core Program. The AARP Foundation Experience Core Program is a positive strategy in the effort to have children reading proficiently by 3rd grade. This program pairs highly trained senior volunteers with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade students who are in danger of not reaching 3rd grade reading benchmarks. The program focuses on reading fluency, which is critical to comprehension and becoming a proficient reader. Language arts coaches at the schools select students to participate in the program who are not only below grade level in reading, but who they also feel would reach grade level reading benchmarks with additional one-on-one help. Tempe Experience Core has been providing tutoring services for 12 years and is currently in 15 schools. In the 2017-18 school year, the program's 106 volunteers provided 9,593 hours of one-on-one tutoring to 478 at-risk students. The graph shows the sustained outcomes of the program for 1st and 2nd graders participating in the program. I would like to point out the maroon bar. This indicates that almost 80% of the student receiving services from Experience Core were on or above grade level at the end of the school year. You will notice that impacts of the program are greater in grade 1. This illustrates the tremendous importance of early intervention on reading proficiency. One challenge to reaching our goal is the impact of poverty on literacy and reading. Various studies have shown that by the age of 3, children from lower income homes can often have almost half as many words in their vocabulary as children from high income homes. Too many children from low income homes lack the quality interactions that foster language development, including verbal interactions with parents, being read to, and access to books in the home. Vocabulary development by age 3 has been found to predict reading achievement by grade 3. This slide is a breakdown of overall poverty and children under 5 living in poverty in the city of Tempe by zip code. This slide shows the information from the previous slide regarding poverty and adds in the passing rate for 3rd graders on the AZ Merit. This is indicated by the maroon bars. As you can see, the higher the percentage of children under 5 living in poverty, the lower the scores on the English Language Arts section of the AZ Merit at 3rd grade. Thank you.
So we are accelerating this measure through being awarded technical assistance by Read On Arizona to establish an acceleration zone in zip code 85281. This will help us identify school and community practices that are making a difference in increasing reading levels and find ways to implement those practices throughout the community. So at this time, we'd be happy to answer any questions on this performance measure and hear your ideas for accelerating.
Okay.
Do you have educators on in your team or on your panel or as a city when you think about those measures that you're doing to help increase those rates? Are there educators who kind of help you determine those programs?
Yes, so we actually have a really wonderful partnership with our 2 public school districts, our elementary school districts, both Tempe Elementary and Kyrene. And so they are active participants in our Read On Tempe initiative, so they work with us continuously on improving practices and looking at implementing programs that might help us accelerate.
Hi, could you explain how the library's Story Walk program fits into Read On and the Acceleration Zone program?
So it's very exciting, the Story Walk program. As part of the Acceleration Zone project, it's targeting 85281 zip code, and we are looking at what is happening in different areas in schools that is elevating them, that's allowing them to start increasing their reading scores. And so in working together with community services, there will be a story walk down at Escalante Park. And to explain a story walk a little bit, it is like a variety of stations, and it's basically taking a book apart, displaying it for families to come through and read, and providing them with suggestions or questions that they can interact with their child. So it brings literacy into the community in a very non-threatening and very fun way. The books can be changed out on these stations throughout the year, and I believe the current plan is to change it out 4 times per year.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so we'll move on to our final performance measure, which is the high school graduation rate. And so this is performance measure 3.08, which is to achieve a percentage of Tempe High School students graduating in 4 years greater than or equal to the statewide goal of 90% by the year 2030. And when looking at this measure, we are specifically looking at students who attend a Tempe Union High School District school that is located within the city of Tempe. It does not include private or charter schools or those Tempe Union High School District schools located in Ahwatukee. And I'm going to now turn it over to Mary Mazey, who will take us through this performance measure.
Thank you, Marie. So why does this measure matter? As a city, we aim to help young people be prepared to achieve their career and life goals and successfully transition to adulthood. When a young person is able to do that, they become a thriving and contributing member to our community. In order to fully thrive, a young person needs to be able to support themselves financially. Educational attainment has a long-term impact on a person's income earning ability over their lifetime. As this chart shows, the more education a person has, the less likely they are to be unemployed and the higher their earnings are. So where are we with this measure? Our most current data shows that 84% of Tempe High School students graduate within 4 years. By 2030, we want to increase that to 90% of Tempe High School students graduating within 4 years. This chart shows a breakdown of the current graduation rate in a few ways. First, know that the bars shown in green mean that the goal is met or exceeded. Yellow means it's close to goal, and orange means it's below the goal. The top bar that you see is our 2030 goal of 90%. Below that, you'll see all Tempe high schools together at 84%, as I mentioned in the previous slide. Then below that, you'll see that Corona del Sol and McClintock are exceeding and meeting the goal. Next, Marcos de Niza and Tempe High are close at 89 and 84%. The final bar that you see, Compadre Academy, has unique challenges as it serves as an alternative choice high school. They serve students who are considered at risk for not completing, including parenting teens and those behind in credits. They also serve students from across the county. Staff are actively working to meet those students' individual needs. The Tempe graduation rate has been fairly consistent over the last 5 years, with recent increases the last 2 years. Schools are important places in our community, and they cannot support our youth alone. To keep students in school, their academic, social, and family needs must be met. Our students need the help of the whole community. Many of us are familiar with the idea that it takes a village to raise a child. The community can help schools by volunteering their time and offering programs that complement what the schools are currently providing. The National Dropout Prevention Center has identified 15 strategies that have the most positive impact on reducing school dropout. When you look at these 15 strategies, you'll notice that they address different parts of the school community. We know that students leave school for a variety of reasons, so we know we can't have a one-size-fits-all approach. All these 15 strategies work together, and sometimes they overlap. The more of these that we can implement, the more positive changes we'll see. I'd like to highlight a few of the ways that the city is implementing some of these strategies. In the area of family engagement, the Positive Parenting Program, also known as Triple P, is a parenting and family support program that equips parents with the skills and confidence to positively manage their family. The city offers Triple P groups for parents of young and grade school-aged children, and will soon be offering sessions for parents of teens in partnership with Tempe Community Council. In the area of after-school and out-of-school opportunities, for the last 38 years, the Tempe Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission has been providing youth with leadership opportunities, the chance to get involved in their community, and the chance to be a voice for youth. 24 youth in 8th through 12th grade serve each year and are appointed by council for up to 3-year term. In the area of mentoring and tutoring, College Connect Tempe provides one-on-one mentoring, helping students explore career pathways and college options. Mentors meet with students at the College Connect office at the Tempe Library or on their school campus. And they help students with everything including scholarship and college applications, completing financial aid forms, and developing resumes. Safe, welcoming, and inviting school environments help students feel supported. The We Want You Back outreach hosted by Tempe Union High School District and in collaboration with the City of Tempe aims to connect with students who have stopped attending school. In fall and spring, school, city staff, and volunteers visit students' home and warmly invite them to come back to school. They also connect students with community resources so they can be successful when they return. In the area of service learning, each year members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission plan and carry out community service learning activities, and they offer the chance for other students to participate with them. Previous activities have included promoting Tempe's Zero Waste Day, creating the Reading Rocks program, and holding the annual Tempe Youth Town Hall. In career and technical education, the city is actively working to build the Career Ready Tempe program, which is a 2-year pilot that will place low-income high school students in paid internships with Tempe businesses, allowing them to explore career pathways and gain valuable job skills. Students will also be paired with a Tempe College Connect mentor to help them apply for post-secondary education. The program will host its first interns this summer. We know that education is a key to escaping poverty, but poverty is also a challenge to completing education. As you've heard in the earlier 2 measures, poverty has detrimental impacts on a child's ability to have successful education outcomes. 50% of youth ages 12 to 17 in Tempe live at 200% of the poverty level. This map highlights where teens in poverty are living in Tempe. The darker the square, the more teens in poverty reside there. Our public high schools are also noted on this map, so you can see connections between those schools who are meeting and those who are below the goal. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, low-income students are 5 times more likely to drop out of high school than those who are higher income. They're also 13 times less likely to graduate from high school on time. Students who live in poverty come to school every day without the proper tools for success. They often do not have access to healthcare, social services, and the community connections that can help support their overall development. As a result, they're commonly behind their peers. The city and our community partners are actively working to fill those gaps by providing the programs I've shared about today and many more. We're working to help youth graduate from high school and move into high-quality career pathways.
So other city performance measures that connect with all of the measures today include measure 3.09, which is post-secondary attainment, and our goal for that is that 65% of our population ages 25 to 64 will have a post-secondary degree or credential by the year 2030. These also connect with performance measure 5.13, which deals with workforce development, because we want an educated and skilled workforce, and we know that educational attainment is the key to that. Also measure 3.31, which is our poverty measurement, which is currently under development. And as you can see, a key point throughout is how poverty really impacts educational outcomes for our youth and our community. So again, at this time, we'd love to entertain any questions from you that you have about our high school performance measure and see if you have any ideas for acceleration.
All right, questions?
Thank you for your presentation. On your last map, if we could go to that, you indicated that I believe it's McClintock High School is exceeding in regards to their high school graduation achievement, but they're in a higher level of poverty, I believe, if I'm reading it correctly. What are they doing differently that's not happening at other schools, perhaps, that you've been able to analyze?
Which is a honors program. It attracts, it's a magnet school. It attracts a lot of students who are already high achieving. And within the Tempe Union High School District, they do have open enrollment. So students can move between a couple different schools in terms of where they select to attend school. But when we were looking at that, we noticed that as well and attributed it to the Peggy Payne Academy.
So if you take out Peggy Payne, what's their number?
I don't have that information. We could go back to the school district and see if they have those numbers broken down by type of student.
On the same line, if Tempe is overall 84% in terms of public high schools, you didn't include any of the charter schools like Tempe Prep or any other ones in terms of that number. What does that compare to the regional, state, and national numbers for high school graduation?
The state is currently at 80%.
Okay.
And I don't have the federal off the top of my head.
Okay, so we're exceeding the state level currently, but we're shooting for 90%. Okay. Does it make sense to exclude schools that aren't part of the public school district in that calculation? Looking at others, I mean, we only threw up the 5 high schools that are part of the Tempe Union High School District. What about other schools? Would that be part of it, or should it be part? That was a question.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly happy to look. Basically, the public schools have to report to the State Department of Education, and so that's more accessible information, but we can certainly reach out to our other schools that exist within the city limits and see if they can supply their graduation rates to us as well.
Okay. Would that also include students who are homeschooled? Is there any way to track that?
That would be a bit more challenging.
Okay. But the state has that information, right? They have graduation rates for all students or just students who attend public schools?
That would be a public records request to the Department of Education.
Okay, so we just don't know right now.
How do you get the numbers for the preschool? Like how many 3 and 4-year-olds are enrolled in preschool? How do you know?
So we got those numbers based on, well, some of it was reported through participants in Quality First. So that is the statewide initiative funded by First Things First. So programs that participate in Quality First, they report their numbers back to First Things First. So we got numbers from them. But also in doing research for the Tempe Free program, they did a feasibility study. So in doing all of that research, Ann Lynn here called around. She literally called preschool programs all throughout Tempe and got information from preschool programs that weren't participating in Quality First as well. So but most of our numbers come strictly through those participating in Quality First, and then Head Start numbers. So we got numbers from a variety of places. There's also several school district funded preschool programs currently, and so we included those numbers. But most of our numbers that we reported that were quality, those were based on if they were a 3, a 4, or a 5-star rated program through Quality First.
So if they were attending a childcare facility, but it didn't meet that rating, then they were considered to have had no preschool. Is that right?
Included. So we did have a slide where we talked about the rate of all of Tempe, where we said that 35% of Tempe children are attending any kind of a preschool program. But of those, the percent that are attending a quality at first was 31%. Now we're up to 38% that are attending quality.
So a 3, 4, or 5-star rating.
First and foremost, thank you guys for the presentation on all 3 of the presentations. There was a lot of very interesting information, especially with the association to the poverty levels. To go back to the high school, in one of your slides, you had a graph, a line graph that had a significant dip in 2014. So you had a 5-year period, and then it dipped down to the 64th percentile, I believe, up from around 80 or above. Do we have any reasoning for it to dip down, or maybe it was 69%, why it dropped to the 69% and then bumped back up, and the reason for it bumping back up?
So we'd have to get that information from the school district. It could be that in previous years they were looking at different indicators for graduation, also different things going on in the school. But we as city staff can't speak to that at this point, but we could do some additional investigation with our school partners. Because yeah, it's significant.
Nice job. I know it's difficult to sit up there, right? A little bit. The slide for the preschool or the reading level that shows the schools, like through school, that had a 12% rate of reading. Has there been any study looking at the AZ Merit and looking at English as a second language of those kids? Because we have so many different languages that are spoken in Tempe that I wonder, are they just at a disadvantage early and that they don't catch up with English?
Well, I used to work for the Department of Education, so I can speak to that just a little bit. So if children have had less than 2 years of English instruction, they do not take this measure on the AZ Merit. They have to have so many years of, if English is not their primary language. So they should not be included in those numbers if they have not had sufficient years of instruction in English. But 2 years of instruction in English still is not enough to become proficient. So, you know, if they've had 2 years, they are taking this and they would be included. But I don't know what I mean, I'm sure there's research out there that you could find about what those impacts are.
As a follow-up, the poverty overlay that you have on the reading levels, would you do another overlay of looking at more demographics of those specific students that would give us a little more data?
Yes, actually, through our partnership with the school district, they have broken all of that down by school as well. And so we could certainly add another bar onto there to show students who are not proficient in language to see how that measures up too. But yeah, the districts have that available. We would just have to ask permission to get it from them.
Thank you.
All right. Got another question down here.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm here with Arizona State University, and so I know that ASU does a great job of helping out with College Connect. I was just wondering on how ASU partners, or if ASU partners to help any of these other initiatives.
So currently, actually, ASU is working with First Things First on an evaluation of Tempe Pre. And so I know that First Things First has contracted with them for some data collection on preschools in Tempe as a correlation with our Tempe Pre preschools. So ASU is working with us on that. And certainly with College Connect, ASU has been a tremendous partner. And we're also looking at gathering data along with the Decision Theater, and looking at partnering with the Decision Theater and moving forward in looking at some data sets for our measures. Yeah.
Anything else? Well done. Thank you. Again, if you have any additional comments for the presenters, you have surveys and feedback sheets in the back, or if you have nowhere to grab them, and we appreciate it. Join us again on November 1st. We'll have 2 presentations on fire response time and veteran supportive community designation. So thank you.